an accountant. All right, so what we are doing is just to analyze the transaction given. So these are the transactions given below were extracted from the accounting records of Simpiwe traders for the period of March 2023. So if you remember, I've mentioned that each and every time you'll have transactions. So transactions you receive daily, those are daily activities in the business. You'll receive transactions. So once you receive transactions, and then you need to read and understand each transaction. So here we are given transaction number 1 up to transaction number 13. And then what is required? If you go down here, you'll find what is required. That is your accounting equation. So number 1 is required accounting equation, which is your asset equal to your equity and liabilities. So that is your asset. Let me try and mute everyone. All right. So these are your transactions. It's required. What is expected to us to do is the accounting equation, which is asset equal to equity plus liabilities. As from Wednesday and Thursday, we'll do the other two, which is general ledger, drawing up the ledger for each account. So it will depend. If you are sitting at 30 accounts, we need to draw up tier accounts, but I'll show you. It's so simple. And then from there, we do a summary of all accounts that are posted in the ledger. A summary, in other words, we need to prepare a trade balance at the end of the day. So that is what will be required. Let me go straight to transactions. So you need to take into account these transactions are taking place in March 2023. Transaction number 1, Simpiwe transferred 60,000 Rand from his personal savings account into the business bank account. So in other words, if you remember the law in accounting, when you register a company, you need to open bank account of a company. So now Simpiwe, the owner, starting a business, or he's got some investment or savings, and then he's transferring that 60,000 Rand into the bank account of a business. So that is transaction number 1. Transaction number 2, he also transferred his own vehicle, which is a bakkie valued at 45,000 Rand, to the business name. In other words, you can transfer cash or an asset. Others, if there's a partnership, in case if you are dealing with partnership, they are coming with a skill. With an account, it's an accountant. So coming with a skill as well, you can be part of the partnership or business. But here the owner is making a cash deposit of 60,000 into the business bank account. Also is transferring a bakkie, a vehicle, to the bank account or to the bank to the business. So that is the owner. Number 3, on 1st of March 2023, Simpiwe took out a loan of 25,000 Rand at 12% per annum from Absa Bank. So in other words, it's asking for a loan, the same loan, it goes to the bank account of a business. Let me remind you that if you take a loan today, which is the 18th of September, you are not expected to pay interest on the same day, but you start to pay interest towards the end of the month. Also, it will be on the agreement that you'll sign with the bank. So here you ask 25,000 Rand from the bank, and then we transfer the same amount to the bank account of a business. Number 4, he paid rent, 1.5. It's an outflow of cash. Number 5, bought 5 laptops on credit and at 3,000 Rand each for a sale. That is because it's running the business. He bought 5 laptops on account, on credit. I'm not too sure why he's not using cash, because money is available in the business. But anyway, transaction number 5, he took out 5 laptops on credit at 3,000 Rand each for a sale. Number 6, he bought 20 desktop computers cash for 2.5 each for use in the business. So in other words, you read the transaction. While you are reading the transaction, it's why you identify 2 or more accounts in each transaction. Number 7, sold 3 laptops for cash at 4,500 Rand each. If you remember, transaction number 5, he bought for, let's say, 3,000. now is added his own markup, his own, if it's a VAT vendor, then it's added VAT, and then the selling price, the marked price, we call it a marked price, is selling at 4.5. Number 8, he drew cash for 2,000 Rand to buy equipment for the internet cafe. So this guy is running an internet cafe. There are laptops, there are desktops, computers. So he took out 2,000 Rand to buy equipment for the internet cafe using one of the business bank accounts with unfavorable balance. That's why it's so important to rate the transaction. So he used not the amount, the bank account or the amount that is available in the bank, but he asked for a balance bank with a balance which is unfavorable. We'll see how to treat that one. Number 9, receive rent from the tenant. Okay, it's got another portion of an office, he rented out, so he received monthly rental of 250. Number 10, he drew 500 Rand for his personal use, because it happens that an owner might take cash or stock or inventory in the business for personal use. So the entry must be shown. That entry must be shown in the business so that at the end of the month, we balance our books. Number 11, Absa Bank charge interest on loan. If you remember, he asked for a loan in number 3 of 25,000 right now. It's paying interest. The bank is charging interest. It's 250. So 250, 12% per annum. If 25,000 times 12% per annum divided by 12 months, then monthly, it's fine. If it's not the right amount, but I'm showing you how to record the entry. So that is your interest on loan number 12. Internet services to cash customers revenue amounted to 12,000 for the month. Okay, there are those customers we are paying cash. Number 13, a customer returned one of the laptops. If you remember, he purchased laptops, he sold laptops, and then one customer is not happy with a certain item, or he found cheaper one elsewhere. Now he wants a refund. The refund was paid to the customer on the same day from the cash register. That's why when you are running a business, you must have petty cash. Can't keep more than 1,000. It depends on the size of the company or your business, but you must have petty cash. So what is required from us here is to draw up the accounting equation. All right, let me get straight to the accounting equation. All right, what is important also, when I'm writing, you also write. So if you remember, we are dealing with assets. This is our equation. I said one equation that you'll find in accounting, that's accounting equation. Unlike in physics or in maths or in LO, I'm not too sure if there is a so here it's a liability. So that is your asset equal to, I'm not too sure what happened here, but anyway, you see. All right, so let me have space here for liabilities and my asset. All right, so this is my equation, accounting equation for the month of March 2023. So I'm expected to answer the question. So important that you rate the transaction, you pick 2 or more accounts in the transaction, and then you show that entry in your books. Let's go straight to transaction number 1. Transaction number 1, I'll take transaction number 1 up to transaction number 3. Then I'll take some questions or comments before we move to other transaction. If you couldn't finish this today, it's fine. We'll do it on Wednesday, as well as I'll move with you to ledger accounts. Then we prepare a trial balance, because once you get there, now you can start doing your assignment. Because if you remember the assignment, it's already out. This is what will be expected from you, transaction given, and then you work out. But I'm not taking any questions from assignment. I'll do so on Wednesday. Transaction number 1, Simpiwe, the owner, transfers 60,000 Rand from his personal savings account into the business bank account. So in other words, transaction number 1, there are 2 accounts here. The owner, remember, in equity section, because the entry is affecting the owner. So equity, if you remember the worth of a company, of a business. So the owner, the owners are interested on that. The owner of a business, they're interested to check the equity, because once you've got the equity, then you are able to cover other expenses. Also, you are able to generate much revenue. So 60,000. So two accounts in transaction number one. The first one, it's capital, because the owner is taking cash from his saving personal account to the business bank account. There is capital account. Number two, there is bank account. So two accounts here, it's bank and capital. Then the next question that you need to ask yourself, what is happening in the bank account? Is it increasing or decreasing? So here, there was nothing in the bank account of a business. And then this 60,000 is added. They transferred to the bank account of a business. So there is increase in the bank account of a business. All right, let me answer this section. Let's classify those two accounts. The first one is bank. The second one is capital. Bank is an asset. So what we are saying in the asset account, there is plus 60,000. Please make sure you write 60,000. So account here, there is account bank. So your bank account increases. Then the next account, it's in equity. So equity, your capital account, it's part of your equity. There is plus 60,000 rand. And then you write the contra account here, it's capital. So let me tell you, once you pick two or more accounts in each transaction, in other words, in accounting, now we are starting something that is called, it was founded by who? Paulo, around 1608 or so, the founder of accounting, because there is a relationship between maths and mathematics, because the guy was a mathematician who founded accounting. So he picked out double entry system. Always in the class or in accounting, you will hear people talking about double entry system. In other words, they are saying each transaction is affected by two or more accounts, which account debited, and then you must look for another account to be credited. You can't debit bank, credit bank. So that one, it's not accounting. There must be one account debited, and then the other account is credited. You'll see if you go through your notes, there is a topic says double entry system, and the founder of double entry system. I so wish it was me, but anyway, I'm a founder of this program that I'm teaching now. Let me say so. All right. So two accounts here. It's your capital. It's your bank. Let me put some more money here so that at least you'll see I'm talking about cash. There is cash, 60,000 rand, transaction number one. Number two, there is capital account that is plus in your capital under equity. So there is no liability, no debts. So that is transaction number one. So we pick two or more accounts in the transaction. So there is plus in 60,000 because it's transferring 60,000 to the bank account of a business. The bank is an asset. So that means under asset, you put that plus 60,000, your equity, another plus 60,000, there is capital. That was transaction number one. Let me move to number two and three, and then I'll take some questions for clarity. Transaction number two, the same owner transferred his own vehicle, which is a bakkie, valued at 45,000 rand to the business name. Here, it's not cash transfer, but it's an asset. The value of an asset is 45,000 rand. Two accounts again. There is vehicle. Yeah, if you're doing accounting for the first time, then you write bakkie in the test. Yes, I'll mark that because you're doing accounting for the first time. But the correct account, you call it vehicle, it's an asset. Is adding on asset as well as the owner, the equity of a business will increase. The value of an asset will increase, or the worth of an asset will increase. 45,000 rand. How to show that entry in my accounting question? So if you remember, I said it's a vehicle, which is an asset, is increasing. There is plus 45,000. Here you're right. This is my vehicle. It's contributing in vehicle, which is an asset in the business. Again, there is plus 45,000. In this case, it's capital once more. the owner is contributing an amount of cash, 60,000, another vehicle, an asset of transaction number 2 is an asset. But when you check equity, the worth, once there is an effect or in the transaction, there is transaction that deals with an owner, so important that you consider the capital account. You'll see other transaction where the owner is withdrawing some cash or an asset in the business. So also the equity will be affected, but we'll have a special account for that. So that is transaction number 1, 60,000 cash contributed by the owner, as well as transaction number 2, the asset, the vehicle, which is contributed by the owner in the business. All right, let me move to number 3, then I'll take some questions. On 1st March, that means the beginning of the month, 1st March, Simpiwe, the owner, took out a loan of 25,000. All right, he's asking a loan now. He contributed cash in the business. He contributed a vehicle in the business. Also, he's asking for a loan. I'm not too sure why loan now. He asked a loan of 25,000. So that amount would be transferred from Absa Bank to the bank account of a business. Again, your 25,000 must be shown under asset, and then you write the account here, it's bank, because the money goes to the bank account. All right, I'm not too sure what is happening, but I'm upset here. All right, let's check this transaction number 3. Transaction number 3 is dealing with the debt. If you remember my notes, your debt, your liability is asking for a loan. So that's why under my liability, I'll add this 25,000. It's a debt. Then I'll write, this is my loan. So loan, it falls under a long-term debt. It's a non-current liability. If you remember under your notes where I said liability, you'll find non-current and current debts. So these are my 3 transactions that I'm showing you in my accounting equation. Let me take some question. If there are questions for transaction 1, transaction number 2, and 3, I'll explain more when it comes to the test. To the assignment. But my colleague next week or the other week, she'll take you the entire week explaining some concept as well and dealing with you directly with the assignment. Any question or comments on the first 3 transactions? Senzo?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just remember that you are a co-host. That means we are teaching together. Yeah, that's a benefit to be a co-host. So also a teacher. So any other question or comments before I move on? Yes, there is a Fatima. Your hand is up.
Hi, sir. I would just like to find out, what are you going to do with the 12%?
All right, the 12%, always when you ask a loan from the bank, any bank, you can't get a loan without interest. So here they charge us interest up to 12%. So when he's paying back interest, whether monthly or yearly or after 3 months, they must be 12% interest. Remember, a loan, it's a capital debt, it's a debt of 25,000. It goes together with interest. So that 250, that is why towards the end of this, let me go straight to transaction number 11. Absa Bank charge interest on loan. So in other words, that is calculated to 12%. Fatima, I'm not too sure. I didn't check whether if you take 25,000 rand by 12%, it gives you how much, and then you divide, because it's a per annum. So that means that interest is for the year. If you divide by 12, it gives you 250. I'm not too sure, but also because I'm not dealing with adjustments. Once I show adjustments, then I can show you that. But always, if there is a loan, must have interest that you need to pay. I think I answered that question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Let me move on. Please let me know, Sanzo, if there's someone saying something, so that I'll be able to answer. Yes, Tabang, another hand is up. Yeah,
You should record my correct because you might just.
Aye. Who's speaking? Yes, Tabang.
So I want to ask,
Yes.
when doing the accounting equation, don't we have to show which accounts are debited and which accounts are credited? Because some of the learners didn't do accounting in school.
Oh, yeah. Now I get you. So for now, I'm just recording what we are given. I'm just showing in the accounting question. You'll see when we move to general ledger, it's where we identify which account debited, which account credited. That one is a double entry system. That will be I'll be doing. For now, I'm just taking from the basic to say this is how we record these entries. I'll show them. By Wednesday, we'll do that. Lungsan?
You add an extra zero to 25,000.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Good, yeah, that's true. Can't be 250,000. So now I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, 25,000 under liability. Thank you so much. All right, let me move on to next transaction, but we'll see when we'll deal with the double entry system, which account debit, which account credit, then we'll move on. All right, let's move to transaction number 4. He paid out rent 1.5. So from the transaction, you out of that transaction, you'll pick 2 accounts. There is rent paid. That means he used bank account to pay for a rent. So 1.5. So in that case, the bank or the asset account, which is bank, is not increasing. There is a decrease. I think it's 500. Paid out 1.5. Sorry. So he paid 1.5. So that is 1.5. It's an outflow of cash. Okay. So here my bank account is decreasing. I have to show this contra account. My bank, he paid what? The rent. In that case, rent is an expense. All expenses, please take this one down. All expenses decrease equity. That is, you should note that. So where to show equity rent here? So my worth of a business will be affected by all expenses. But if it's income, increase equity. So in this case, there is a minus 1.5. In this case, this is my rent. All expenses decrease my equity. So that's why you minus 1.5 under equity. This is the rent. All expenses, you need to know. Once you are dealing with expenses, whether salaries and wages, your telephone account, or any other expense, minus equity, the worth will decrease by equity. We'll see when you draw up the financial statements when I'm dealing with that at that time. So, but your cash at the bank is decreasing. There is a minus. It's an outflow of cash. It's paying rent. It's an outflow of cash. Number 5, he bought 5 laptops on account. Sometimes, let me write here. Let me write on credit or on account. Because in the test, they may say he bought 5 laptops on account. Then if it's on account, it's on credit at 3,000 Rand each. So that means I'll take 5 by 3, and then it gives us 15,000 Rand. He bought using credit. In other words, it's creating a short-term debt. So that means, so he bought what? Laptops. Laptops will be used in the business. If a person writes laptops, and then I have to mark that, but that laptop, it's used as what? It's an equipment that will be used in the business. Or let's classify laptops as an inventory. Others, they call it inventory because that is the stock he bought to use in the business for a sale. So in other words, I'll take my next transaction here. All right, this plus, he bought 15,000 worth of laptops, or somebody can write stock, you're welcome, or others can write laptops. He bought this stock to use because it always, when you are buying a stock, we have to it's for resale. You are buying a stock for resale. So he never used cash to buy this, but he used on credit, on account. So that means he's increasing his his short-term debts, another 15,000. But here you use not the account creditors, but we use payables. Payables, that is the correct account we use. So that is payables. So because the new concept, we are no longer using creditors control, but we use payables or accounts payable. It's fine, but let's use payables. He purchased inventory or laptops or stock on account, 3,000 each. That is 3,000 by 5. It gives you 15,000 rand for a purpose of reselling those laptops. All right, let me move to the next transaction number 6. He also bought 20 desktop computers, cash, for 2,500 each. Okay, so I'll take my 2,500 each. 2,500 by 20, it gives me 50,000. He bought 50 desktop computers, cash, for 2,500. Use cash. In other words, it was not on account. So he bought plus 50,000. We call it, we bought what? Desktop computers. Simple way, we use equipment. If you use desktop, it's fine. Yes. But the correct account, we call it equipment. He used that, purchase equipment. He used cash. So that means there is a decrease and increase in your asset, minus 50,000. In this case, the contra account is bank. Bank is credited or is decreasing. So it's a minus in the bank account. There is plus in your asset. There is plus 50,000 equipment. There is minus 50,000 bank, decreases because you use cash. If it's on credit, then we use liability, like transaction, the other transaction for inventory or laptops. He used on credit, but here you use cash to purchase desktop. The equipment, there is plus and minus. So why there is plus and minus in the asset? Because the two accounts, equipment and bank, are classified as asset. Those two accounts are asset. That is why there is plus. The other asset is increasing. The other asset is decreasing. Already now we are able to see that each transaction is affected by 2 or more accounts. There is 2 in transaction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6. There are 2 accounts. Then let's move to transaction number 7. He sold 3 laptops for cash at 4,500 rand each. So I'll take my 4.5 by 3. It gives me 13,500. We receive cash. He sold. If we are selling, we are using cash or credit, but in this case, he used cash. He sold 3 laptops for cash. So what will happen in the bank account of a business? There'll be plus 13,500. The bank account will increase by cash amount. So then if there are sales in the business, the equity of the section, equity section will increase. We call it sales. So here we are not given the markup on cost or cost of sales. I'll tell you once you are given that account, that transaction where there are selling price and cost price. How am I going to deal with selling with the cost price? But in this case, in this transaction, it's only sales, cash sales. If it's cash sales, your asset, which is bank plus, as well as your equity, which is your equity, there is plus all your sales, it's plus, increases your equity. So that was transaction number 7. Number 8, I love this one. He drew up cash for 2,000 rand to buy equipment for the internet cafe using one of the business bank accounts. But in this case, the bank account is not favorable. It's unfavorable. In other words, he is using not his money, but in this case, the bank overdraft. Always a bank overdraft is a current debt, it's a short-term debt. So how we're going to record this one? He used bank overdraft, a debt, to purchase an equipment. He drew that to purchase for equipment. All right, purchase equipment. We don't have equipment in the business. We do. We add on the equipment. Let me add here. There is plus purchase equipment, 2,000 rand. That's my equipment account. Use unfavorable cash in the business. That means the bank overdraft. So there is plus in the debt. In this case, let's say this is bank overdraft. So your bank overdraft, it's a current debt, must be settled within a period of few days or after a month. You need to pay. So it's a bank overdraft because my account is not favorable. So my account is not favorable, it's unfavorable, and then I must use that. We use bank overdraft because the cash at that time, it was not favorable. It was not his own amount. He asked for a bank overdraft. It's an overdraft. It's a short-term debt. So all debts are classified under liabilities, like loan, payables, but in this case, there is bank overdraft. It's a bank overdraft. So it's a short-term debt. All right, let me move to number 9, up to 10, then I'll take questions. Receive rent from the tenant. Oh, anyway, when you receive cash from your tenant, amount in this case is 250. You receive cash from the tenant, the bank account will increase by that amount that you receive from your tenant. In this case, you receive 250. The account here is your asset, which is bank, and then your equity will increase. This is 250. In this case, you're right. This is rent. Let me say, because sometimes there is rent received, rent paid. This one, it was rent received. Rent received is classified as an income. If you remember, I said rent expense is a expense, decrease equity. Rent received, increase equity. Income, increase equity. Expense, decreases equity. So that is how you define the two. So rent received is income. So we receive cash of 250. So your asset, which is bank, there is plus 250, as well as your equity. In this case, your rent received, it's another 250. So that was transaction number 9. Transaction number 10, he drew up 500 rand for his personal use. The owner took out 500 rand. Let me put it simple. Drew cash. Let me say drew cash of 500 rand for his personal use. He drew up cash because it happens that the owner will take out stock or cash in the business. So it drew up cash. So what will happen in your asset? Because you are dealing with cash, then you need to remember the bank account in the ledger. In this case, this can't be plus, it's a minus because the owner is taking cash for personal use. Account here is decreasing. And then because it's an entry made by the owner, that means the equity will decrease. There is 500 franc. We use a special account, we call it drawings. If an owner withdrew cash or asset in the business, we use this account, we call it drawings. It's a special account that is used by the owner, then it affects the equity. This drawings account, it's under equity section because the entry is made by the owner. So what affects equity? Those transactions made by the owner, as well as if there are sales or if there is income or expenses, they affect the equity section of a business. So in this case, the owner is withdrawing cash for personal use. It's a minus in your bank. There is minus in your bank of 500 rand, as well as minus in your equity, another 500. Always remember you balance your equation, because if you didn't balance your equation at the end of the month, we can't prepare a complete or a correct tried balance at the end of the month, because we'll use the same information, we'll draw up the T accounts. From T accounts, we balance the ledger accounts, and then we draw up the tried balance. But I'll show you once we get there. All right, that was transaction number 10. Let me take more questions or for clarity before we complete the other 3 transactions. Yebo.
Hi. In transaction number which transaction was it? Oh, transaction number 7, where there was a sale of 3 laptop. Why didn't inventory decrease? Because yeah, he sold. It means the assets also decrease, but there is also cash coming in. So why did you use equate?
All right, thank you so much, Juanele, for that question. In transaction number 7,